Happy Pride. June is Pride Month. It's one of my favorite months of the year. It's a time where a lot of people feel a little bit more comfortable being themselves. And it's a time where a lot of people can share one thing in common, and that is that everyone loves. But it's also about continuing to make progress for equality and bringing awareness to the oppression that the LGBTQ plus community has been through, and also the discrimination that continues to happen across our nation on a day-to-day basis.
Pride Month, as a lot of us know it today, is the global celebration of the LGBTQA community across the globe, a time for parades and events and to really celebrate everything that makes us unique in this world today. But what a lot of people don't know, and we don't often talk about, is it was actually born from a time of great civil unrest, a time of a real fight for justice, going back to the Stonewall riots in New York in 1969.
A catalyst for this was Martha P. Johnson, a Black, strong, transgender woman who had had enough and started this in New York City.
And that fight continues today, and to me is one of the most important components in terms of the meaning behind Pride.
It's a reminder that, especially in times like this where we're fighting for racial equality and Black Lives Matter, that progress is ever changing. And as long as you stand up for what you believe in, progress can happen and change can happen.
Coming from different backgrounds, we're all not going to carry the same set of beliefs, but I think a level of respect for everyone's beliefs is important and necessary in the workplace. And with as much time as we all spend there, everyone deserves to be comfortable in that environment.
So we have to think about the lens with which people view the world and how that impacts situations, or how some of these lived experiences could positively impact our entire team. Incorporating those things is not only going to make them more comfortable, but it's going to help all of us in the long run.
Growing up in a diverse family and community, I participated in celebrations that honored various cultures and traditions. This has truly strengthened my understanding and acceptance of those who are different from me.
We're not just members of one identity, but that there are many different parts of us. So for example, a Black straight man has to deal with racism, but a Black gay woman probably has to deal with racism, homophobia, and even sexism. So in this case, intersectionality is very important because in our efforts to fight any form of discrimination, we really need to consider and examine any other linked forms of oppression.
I think some important current issues to keep in mind are representation, specific to the workplace. We've seen the recent case of Trouble Stock, which helps progress towards getting rid of workplace discrimination. But I think that another way to help reach this goal is to have people of all walks of life not only employed by businesses, but employed in positions of leadership.
An inclusive workplace culture, it makes diversity work. It's where we strive to value everyone and where we celebrate our unique differences.
I want to build a collaborative space where diverse ideas are promoted and they're also respected. I want everyone to have equal access to opportunities and success and feel integrated into the culture rather than isolated.
An inclusive workplace to me is really about creating an environment where people feel valued and accepted in their team and also in a wider organisation without having to conform.
An inclusive workplace to me means to basically be able to be your true self around your colleagues without any hesitation.
I can talk about the things that matter to me both professionally and personally and not have to worry about being punished for it. One of the ways that I try to make my teammates feel comfortable bringing their whole authentic selves to work is to not just acknowledge their differences, but to celebrate them. And to think about how we can take those differences and incorporate them into the work that we do every single day.
Authenticity is so important when it comes to building genuine relationships. I like to share details about my personal journey, both inside and outside of work, show vulnerability, and really take the time to get to know my teammates as a human being and what makes them unique.
With that, you're going to care about that person's well-being more, getting to know them more on a personal level, and that well-being includes making sure that they can truly be themselves around you at all times.
It should also be, a wealth of different ideas and experiences coming from all walks of life, because that's what makes an organisation stronger.
Allyship to me means leaning in and listening more than talking, but being brave enough to speak up during times of injustice or discrimination.
Allyship to me means being a human, encouraging every individual to be themselves and ensuring that every individual is treated with dignity and respect, because that's what we all deserve and are all entitled to.
For me, allyship is showing up for the people in our lives every single day in whatever form that may take. Even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, exhausting, painful, even when we have to challenge our own thoughts and beliefs.
It is important to use correct and inclusive language, including right words and pronouns. It is also important to speak up against any anti-LGBTQ statements.
Allyship involves continuous education, proactively, on a variety of topics, and then pushing for awareness and positive change, not only within our workplace, but the communities that we live in.
We also have to remember that allyship is going to look different from one person to the next. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. What matters is that we are consistent and maintain our integrity while doing so.
If you're a manager or you're a friend and you want to know more, it's totally okay to ask. It's actually better to ask and learn, and as long as you have good intent.
The reality is they need our support not just during the month of June, but year-round. So I would encourage you to consider that as well.
With everything going on in the world at the moment, it might not be possible to celebrate in the same location with all of your colleagues. However, with technology, there are so many ways that you can do this virtually and make sure that you are celebrating this time.
If you and your teams are wondering, how can we get involved? How can we join the celebration? How can we advocate? Luckily, there are many different ways that you're able to do that. I, for one, would encourage you to start with education, start with awareness. I think the Human Rights Campaign is a great resource to be able to do that, to learn more about the meaning, the history.
It's a time where we can all come together and, take some time to really talk about, what we're seeing, what's going on, and what our thoughts and perspectives are.
Find some local LGBTQ owned shops, get involved with a charity, reach out to your friends, watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
There are many different causes to support communities and different efforts to fight for justice for the LGBTQA community.
I'm celebrating Pride this month by making a donation to Pride in London and their Unity Fund.
One kind act to the next. I think it'll really be a great, trickle effect.
Happy Pride. Love is love, and remember to be kind to each other. So happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone. The future is equal.